Listen up, y'all. Once, there was a prince. He was a mountain prince. He lived on a grange in a mountain range. And he wanted to marry a princess. But he wanted to marry a mountain princess, not just any old princess. And there were no mountain princesses in his general vicinity. And so he decided to set out to go all around the world through all the mountain ranges to try and find himself a real mountain princess. So he ascended the Appalachians and the Alps. He went to the Sierras looking for ladies in tiaras. He went to Glass Mountain looking for ladies in just one shoe. He cruised through the Caucasus, he hiked the Himalayas, he stepped through the steppes, but he couldn't find any real princesses. Now, he met a lot of ladies that said they were princesses, but he wasn't sure if they were really princesses, because let's face it, princess costumes just aren't that expensive. And so he went home and he was kind of sad. He lived with his mama, which might explain a few things. But he said, Mama, I went over the whole world and I couldn't find me a real mountain princess. He said, I met a lot of ladies that said they were princesses, but I think they were frauds. He said, now, I kissed some of those frauds, hoping they'd turn into princesses. And his mama said, don't kiss frauds, you'll get warts. And then, just then a great storm blew up. There was a hurricane and a tornado and lightning and thunder and snow and hail and rain and all manner of bad weather. And because this is a story, at that very moment, there was a knock at the door. And the prince went and he opened the door, and there, standing on his stoop, were three beautiful prime princesses. And he was so excited, and then they said, trick or treat. And he was like, oh, shucks. But the next day he was out in his field. It was a beautiful day. He was out in his field doing a little bit of work, and a woman came down the road, and she was wearing hiking boots and a calico dress, and her hair was in a mess. And she walked up and she said, howdy, I'm a real mountain princess. Well, he just wasn't sure, because he didn't know if real princesses walked around in hiking boots and calico dresses with their hair all in messes. But he thought maybe she's for real. She did have a sash that said mountain princess. So he took her home and he introduced her to his mama, and the mama wasn't sure either. She took the son aside and she said, now listen here, I don't know if that's a real princess or not. We're gonna have to test her to find out if she's a real princess. And this might be the point where you begin to recognize this story. And the mama said to the son, she said, what I want you to do is I want you to take 12 mattresses. And I want you to pile those mattresses up on the back of your pickup truck. And she'll sleep out there on them mattresses, and if she does not notice that she's sleeping on a pickup truck, we'll know that she's a real mountain princess. And the son was like, all right, mama, okay, that's a good idea. We're brainstorming, so no bad ideas, but here's just a few things. One, first of all, we ain't got 12 mattresses. We got 3 mattresses, an air mattress, and one of them blow-up raft things. And the mama said, use what you got. And then the prince said, okay, one more thing. He said, now just how is she not gonna notice the pickup truck? He said, I got that pickup truck in the first place so princesses would notice it. And the mama said, how's that working out for you? But she thought about it for a minute, and then she said, dust ruffle. So that night, they all ate supper, the mama, the prince, and the mountain princess. And after supper, it was bedtime, and the prince said, he said, it's time for bed. He said, princess, let me show you to where you'll be sleeping. It's out the front door and across the driveway. Nothing weird about that. And then you climb up this ladder and sleep on this pile of mattresses. Well, the princess went out and she climbed up on the mattresses and she fell asleep before too long. And the mama gave the keys to the truck to the son and she said, now, I want you to go out and I want you to drive around. I want you to go uphill and downhill. Go on some curvy roads, go on some bumpy roads. If she don't wake up, if she doesn't notice she's sleeping on a pickup truck, we'll know she's a real mountain princess. And the son was like, okay, Mom, again, no bad ideas, but if I go down a bumpy road and she's laying there up there on them mattresses, she's just gonna, like that. And I don't want a roadkill princess. I want a mountain kill, not a mountain kill. I started thinking that in Marlinton, West Virginia, we have the roadkill food festival, and someone actually is Miss Roadkill. So I got that in my head. My other favorite beauty pageant is in Clarksburg, West Virginia. They have the Benedum Oil and Gas Festival, and so someone every year is named Miss Oil and Gas. But the prince said, he said, Mom, if I hit a bump and she goes flying off, she'll be roadkill, and I don't want to marry a roadkill princess. I want to marry a live mountain princess. And the mama thought about it for a minute, and she got an idea, and she took a rope. She tied the rope around the truck and tied the princess onto the top of those mattresses so she couldn't fly off. So the prince got in the truck and he started to drive, and he went downhill and he went uphill and he went on some bumpy roads and he went on some curvy roads. And then, because this is a children's story and it has to have some puns, here come the obligatory puns. He put it in four-wheel drive so that he could ford a river. Then he had to dodge a ram. Then he drove over the tundra. See, that little girl's laughing. And then he got drowsy, and he decided he better go home because drowsy driving is dangerous driving. So he went home, and he parked the truck, and he went inside, and the princess was still snoring in a very un-princess-like way. And in the morning, the mama and the prince were eating breakfast, and the princess came in and she said, how'd y'all sleep? And they said, we slept just fine, which was a lie, because, they didn't have any mattresses. But they said to her, how did you sleep? And she said, I slept just fine. It was one of the best nights of sleep I ever had. Whole night I dreamt that I was riding on a bucking bronco. And then they knew that she was a real mountain princess, and the prince and the princess got married, and they lived happily ever after, sometimes in two-wheel drive, sometimes in four-wheel drive, but they always managed to thrive. I don't usually get, "Aww," at the end of my stories.